Walk into any pharmacy and you'll see an entire shelf dedicated to probiotics. Capsules, powders, gummies, drinks. Billions of units, dozens of strains, different claims on every label. But here's what most people never stop to ask. What exactly is a probiotic? And why does the type matter? A probiotic is a living microorganism. When you consume enough of it, it produces a measurable benefit in your body. That definition comes from the World Health Organization. It sounds simple, but the science underneath it is anything but. There are thousands of probiotic strains. Each one behaves differently. Each one targets different systems. And most people are swallowing one without knowing what it actually does. This video explains every major probiotic type, what it is, how it works, and what the research actually says. To understand probiotics, you need to understand what they're entering. Your gut contains roughly 38 trillion microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses, and other microbes living in a dense, interconnected ecosystem. Scientists call this the gut microbiome. This ecosystem does far more than digest food. It produces vitamins, it trains your immune system, it communicates with your brain through what researchers call the gut-brain axis. It regulates inflammation throughout the body. When the microbiome is balanced, these systems run quietly in the background. When it's disrupted by antibiotics, poor diet, stress, or illness, the balance shifts. Harmful microbes gain ground, beneficial ones retreat. Researchers at the NIH describe this disruption as dysbiosis. And dysbiosis has been linked to conditions ranging from digestive problems to metabolic disorders to mood changes. Probiotics are essentially reinforcements. You're introducing specific bacterial species to help restore or maintain that balance. But which species you introduce determines what actually happens. The most studied probiotic genus in the world is Lactobacillus. These are lactic acid-producing bacteria. They convert sugars into lactic acid, which creates an acidic environment in the gut. That acidic environment is unfavorable to many harmful bacteria. It's how Lactobacillus earns its place. You'll find Lactobacillus naturally in fermented foods: yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut. Your body already has some. The question is, how much? Different species within this genus do different things. Lactobacillus acidophilus is one of the most researched. Studies published in journals like the British Journal of Nutrition show it can help reduce lactose intolerant symptoms by producing the enzyme lactase, the enzyme that breaks down lactose. Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG has perhaps the most clinical evidence of any probiotic strain. Research across multiple trials shows it reduces the duration of diarrhea, particularly in children, and helps prevent antibiotic-associated digestive disruption. Lactobacillus strains generally colonize the small intestine. They're resilient, widely available, and one of the safest categories of probiotics studied. Move deeper into the digestive system, and you encounter the large intestine, the colon. This is where Bifidobacterium thrives. Bifidobacterium is the dominant probiotic genus in infants. Breast milk contains compounds specifically designed to feed it. As we age, Bifidobacterium levels naturally decline. By old age, they can drop to a fraction of what they were in childhood. This genus ferments dietary fiber and produces short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate. Butyrate is the primary fuel source for the cells lining your colon. It also has anti-inflammatory properties that researchers are actively studying. Bifidobacterium longum and Bifidobacterium infantis are among the most researched species. Clinical studies show benefits in reducing bloating and constipation, and some research published in journals like Gut suggests a role in reducing gut inflammation. Importantly, Bifidobacterium has also been studied in the context of the gut-brain axis. Some trials show correlations between specific strains and reduced markers of anxiety, though the research is still developing. Every probiotic we've covered so far is a bacterium. This one is different. Saccharomyces boulardii is a yeast. It was discovered in the 1920s by a French microbiologist studying fermented foods in Southeast Asia. It's now one of the most clinically researched probiotic organisms in existence. What makes it unique is that it's naturally antibiotic resistant. When patients take antibiotics, which kill bacteria indiscriminately, Saccharomyces boulardii survives. It can therefore be taken alongside antibiotics to protect the gut environment during treatment. Research published in The Lancet and reviewed by the Cochrane Collaboration shows it significantly reduces the incidence of antibiotic-associated diarrhea. It also has strong evidence in travelers' diarrhea prevention and recovery from certain intestinal infections. Mechanically, it works by producing enzymes that disrupt toxins, enhancing the gut's immune response, and competing directly with harmful pathogens for space and nutrients. Soil-based probiotics are the newest category to receive significant research attention, and also the most misunderstood. These are bacteria originally found in soil, primarily from the Bacillus genus. Species like Bacillus coagulans and Bacillus subtilis. Throughout human history, people were regularly exposed to these organisms through contact with the earth and unwashed vegetables. What makes soil-based probiotics distinct is their structure. They form spores, protective shells that allow them to survive heat, stomach acid, and long shelf lives without refrigeration. Once they reach the intestine, the spore germinates and the bacteria become active. Early research, including studies from the journal Nutrients, suggests Bacillus coagulans may help with IBS symptoms and reduce markers of gut inflammation. However, compared to Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium, the long-term data is more limited. The research is promising, but still accumulating. Here's a distinction that gets lost in most supplement marketing. Probiotics are the live organisms. Prebiotics are the food those organisms need to survive and function. Prebiotics are non-digestible fibers, found in foods like garlic, onions, bananas, oats, and asparagus. Your body can't break them down, but your gut bacteria can. They ferment prebiotics and use them as fuel. Without adequate prebiotics, even the best probiotic supplement may struggle to have lasting impact. You're introducing bacteria without feeding them. Some supplements combine both. These are called symbiotics. The logic is straightforward. Deliver the bacteria and the food source together. Research from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health reinforces that dietary fiber, the primary source of prebiotics, is one of the strongest predictors of a healthy and diverse gut microbiome. Probiotics support the system. Prebiotics sustain it. This is the honest part. The research on probiotics is real, but it's strain-specific. What works for one condition may do nothing for another. A lactobacillus strain proven to reduce antibiotic diarrhea won't necessarily reduce bloating. A yeast strain excellent for travel-related illness won't restructure your microbiome long-term. The strongest evidence supports probiotics for antibiotic-associated diarrhea, infectious diarrhea in children, IBS symptom management, and certain inflammatory bowel conditions. This is backed by multiple systematic reviews and meta-analyses from institutions including the Cochrane Collaboration. Where the evidence is weaker or mixed, general immune boosting, weight management, mental health. These areas have interesting early findings, but the clinical picture is not settled. The American Gastroenterological Association and other major bodies now recommend matching the specific strain to a specific evidence-backed use case, not taking a generic product and expecting broad results. The research points to several groups where probiotic benefit is most clearly documented. People recovering from antibiotic treatment show consistent benefit from certain strains, particularly Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG and Saccharomyces boulardii. The antibiotics disrupt the microbiome. Specific probiotics help rebuild it. Infants and young children have the most evidence for probiotic use, particularly in reducing duration of diarrheal illness. The WHO and UNICEF have both acknowledged this in their nutritional guidance. People with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, represent one of the most studied adult populations. Multiple controlled trials show specific strains can reduce bloating, pain, and irregular bowel patterns. Older adults, whose Bifidobacterium levels decline naturally with age, may benefit from targeted supplementation to support colon health and immune function. And people preparing for international travel have reasonable evidence for using Saccharomyces boulardii as a preventive measure. Here is what the science actually tells us. Probiotics are living microorganisms with real, measurable effects on human biology. They are not all the same. Lactobacillus works primarily in the small intestine, producing acids that suppress harmful bacteria. Bifidobacterium operates in the colon, producing compounds that fuel and protect the gut lining. Saccharomyces boulardii is a yeast with strong evidence in antibiotic and travel-related illness. Soil-based bacillus strains show early promise, particularly for gut inflammation. Prebiotics are the fuel system that keeps all of these organisms functional. The research is advancing rapidly. New strains are being studied. The gut-brain connection is becoming better understood. But the core principle remains the same. Your gut microbiome is a living system, and what you introduce into it has consequences, both good and neutral. Understanding what each probiotic does is the first step to understanding your own biology.